Brothers and sisters, it's my pleasure to welcome you to You Gotta Laugh to Keep From Crying. My name is Richard Koritz, and I'm proud to be co-host with my old union brother, comrade, friend, all-around fighter for justice for the people.
For the people.
O.W. Sweeney.
All right. Then,
and we together are going to
give the North Carolina
Triad Jobs with Justice.
We can reach us at
336-272-2758 or NC Triad Jobs with Justice at gmail.com.
Which is our email address.
Yes. All right, brother. And we are so happy to be here with one of our oldest, and proud too. Yeah.
Glad.
Yeah. I'm even happier than I am proud. You're even prouder than you are happy. But whatever trips your trigger. To be here with one of our oldest and dearest friends, and one of the few that we know of outstanding union leaders that this country has had in the last couple of decades, and that is Brother Mark Dimondstein, president, retired president now.
Welcome back, Mark. Welcome back. Always glad
Great
to
to
see
be
you.
here with both of you, my mentor Richard, my good brother, union fighter, Fighters for Justice. O.W. and I go way back to the post office fights.
For the working people.
For the working people.
That's right. For the
Great
ones
to be here.
Who down in the trenches and being mistreated, as I like to call.
Right.
I like to call them peasant, but Richard don't like that word. But that's
because they're workers. But at any rate, I'm going to finish.
Peasants are workers too, but they boys are working for nothing.
I'm not to keep up with you two guys.
Yeah, I'm going to finish the introduction of Brother Mark by saying he is the retired national president of the American Postal Workers Union, AFL-CIO. And he had to move from Greensboro, where he had been the longtime president of the APWU.
Great leader.
Local 7-Eleven, and you were a leader right there with him.
I vouched for him because he was my local president.
That's right.
That's right. He inspired me to attend union meetings.
Well, that's unbelievable.
Hey, well, without even saying a word to me, too.
Yeah.
That's the amazing part about it.
Yeah. Well, you're a pretty amazing fellow yourself. Hey. But at any rate, it's great to see you, Mark.
Same here.
And you just recently retired after 12 years of being the devoted servant of the working people of the post office, particularly the postal workers union members, the truck drivers, the clerks, the custodians, the maintenance people.
Right.
And as O.W. was saying before this gathering, you were the outstanding, in my view as well, the outstanding trade union leader in the country during most of these most of the dozen years you've been in Washington. And I have to say that you and I are both of Jewish background, and you and I have been longtime fighters for justice for the Palestinian people, and been opposed to Israeli Zionism throughout that whole period. And you showed it in the national leadership of the AFL-CIO. You were the shining star, as far as I'm concerned, of that struggle in the national leadership of the working people of the United States.
And I just want to add that the fact that as a local president here in Greensboro, that he led a valiant effort to bring those people who was not in the post office, but outside the post office doing postal workers work like carrying mail and stuff like this. He tried to bring them within the union to establish the fact that this industry should be one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, such as particularly the long distance.
That's right.
Haul drivers of the mail, and that's what ended up leading him to national prominence in the APWU. And anyway, so now that we've given you, this is a big introduction. When you were president that had to keep running for terms, we never gave you this kind of play when you came on our show. But now that that's not the case anymore. I read your farewell address to your fellow leaders of the National AFL-CIO Council, who don't have the integrity and the dedication, for the most part,
or the vision,
that you do. And
for the workers.
It was a brilliant rap on, brother. You're right with it. It was a brilliant speech, and you were laying out to them the challenge that they were now going to face up there, without you there to help try to lead them. And so that's one of the things that we want to talk about today is how you see going forward for the working class in this country, and particularly the organized sector of the working class in the unions. So, welcome.
Well, thank you, Brother Rich. And let me first start by saying that it was a very kind introduction, a warm introduction, but our viewers should know nobody does this alone. And I've been part of a movement. You, Rich, have been my mentor. Your leadership has helped create me. I served with OW on the executive board together in APWU Local 711 when we did a lot of important things like the organizing. But no leader stands by themselves. So I just want to say that first. As they say, it takes a village. Secondly, we're in a labor movement that is weak, if we're going to be honest about it. We're about 6% of the organized working class in the private sector, higher in the public sector, about 10.5% overall, which means after World War II, following World War II into the 1950s, 35% of the working class was organized into unions. So think about the power. And
mostly in private
industry and a lot of basic industry.
Right.
So there's a lot of power. So the impact, the ability to deal economically and politically to uplift the working class was much stronger. But having said that, so obviously having said it, I think we need a more powerful, widespread, deeper, militant, honest, democratic-based union movement in the United States. But having said that, I don't want any of our viewers to think that unions are not needed and vital institutions of working people. And to have a voice at work, to have on-the-job safety, to be able to enforce union contracts that are negotiated, to uplift economically, but also politically. So in the AFL-CIO, I was proud to serve on that council for 12 years, representing the 200,000 members of the APWU. That's how I was there. I wasn't there as an individual. I was there as president of the union, and we're elected with a one-person, one-vote, which most unions do not do. That's part of the problem. Basic democracy, right? And so over the years, I tried to, in the spirit of building a stronger labor movement, tried to raise some fundamental issues with the AFL-CIO Council. And when I left, I kind of did my best to summarize it. So let me share at least the first point. And I'll read a little bit, not the whole set of comments. But what I said to the council, in the spirit of strengthening the labor movement, is I leave you with the same challenge, meaning it's not the first time I raised it. I leave you with the same challenge. When is the union movement going to break with our destructive relationship with the corporate Democratic Party and build one of our own? Let us learn from the 2008 experience, and this was a deep experience for the working class.
2008.
2008, when there was a Democratic White House, a Democratic House of Representatives, and a veto-proof Senate. That means there were 60 Democrats in the Senate. And we got 0. We should recognize that the working class is right in their disgust with both of the major political parties of Wall Street and with business as usual. The endless wars, the job-killing trade deals, the tax structures favoring the wealthiest, the poverty minimum wages, galloping inequality, no matter which party ruled the roost. That doesn't mean we remove ourselves from electing the best pro-worker representatives that we can and engage in elections. I know we're going to talk about that later. But it is a false equation that we can't do that while at the same time work on building something new, of, by, for, and accountable to the working people and the oppressed. Without a genuine pro-working class alternative, and this is very important for what's happening today in this country, without a genuine pro-working class alternative, workers become vulnerable to the fascist path, with demagogues playing on the injuries and concerns of working people.
And Mark, as I really, this was one of your greatest speeches, and really we could do with
Facts.
having our viewers getting their hands on it. But and if we arrange that, we'll try to bring it to the attention of our members. But I did want to say, you know, right now you're coming on the show, and we appreciate you coming, being here. The question
Because we're always trying to educate our audience, Richard, so go ahead.
Yeah. So the question of the rise of the Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA, candidates, so that outstanding first was Mamdani becoming mayor of New York City,
right,
as an avowedly Democratic Socialist person. And then in his, the mobilization around him that was done, with I think 50,000 people knocking on doors. And so you had that grassroots strength. And then just very recently, in the primaries, the three Democrats that he chose to endorse in New York City for different congressional seats, two of them were DSA outstanding women of color, and the third person was a Jewish man who had also been, like you and I, someone who has opposed Zionism, and who also was a defender of the immigrant people in New York, to the point that he was arrested by ICE. And all three of those people won their primaries over established figures, and it worried the Wall Street ruling class and Trump, who has his own axe to grind and his own dynasty that he's building and rapidly building, but he is connected to their dynasty, the dynasty of Wall Street. And so we've seen that backlash. And again, in Colorado, a young 29-year-old woman who was a DSA member defeated the longest running congressperson in Colorado, and the difference between them wasn't as great. The woman that had been in there had been there 30 years, and she's, I said, 29 years old, the candidate. And the big difference between them, politically, the only big difference between them was that she took no APAC money, the DSA person, no money from the Israeli bloody regime, and the other woman did.
I wish y'all would call that what it is, a bribe. Go ahead.
Okay, well, okay, thank you. And then the other thing about it was that on the questions of women's rights and the question of immigrant rights, the other woman had been decent, but she had not fought Trump's fascist drive. And so what the people in New York, in those getting those three candidates in, and Brother Mamdani, and now this woman getting elected in Colorado showed, was the people, in the first place, the people want political leaders that are going to fight Trump's drive to fascism. And that, again, we've seen it now in Washington, D.C., where another bright young woman of color, Janice, somebody help, Janice Lewis George has won the primary there, and she is also a DSA member. So I'm raising all these points because what you've raised and been pointing toward for all this time is something that we need to really get behind. And you, Brother Sweeney, in our last and the most recent, and perhaps best show we've ever done. You ended it by calling on the DSA and others to
Stand forward.
keep going forward. And
I just want to kick a little history in here so people can understand what the people are all about. Haymarket Square, you need to sit down and read a book to find out what Haymarket Square is all about. It's about that 8-hour working day. People died and fought for the 8-hour working day because they was fighting together. Unionism is a good thing when the people come together and they have to fight for themselves in a unity, because people don't seem to understand that those corporations are unified in oppressing the workers. They're unified in taking things away from the workers. That's why I say inflation is a pay cut for the working people. And you have to understand, you got to fight these things.
Right.
You got to fight them.
Right.
You should be pushing our political leaders, say if inflation go up 100%, everybody should get a 100% raise to cover that inflation.
okay.
And if I can add to some of what you raised, Rich, as well. The part of what I raised with the labor movement, the AFL-CIO over the years, and that is the one main federation of the labor movement in the United States. It's about 60 unions, 12 million or so workers under that umbrella. Is that, and part of the difference around how to approach electoral politics is let's deal with the issues rather than the D that they're so attached to behind the candidate's name. So if you look at Mom Danny, it was the issues that moved the people. The people that discussed it were business as usual, rightfully so, the working people. But
Affordability.
What did he talk about? Affordability.
Yeah.
People can't afford to pay rent. People can't afford, they're choosing between medicine and food. Healthcare is a privilege rather than human rights. So you have candidates speaking truth to power, so to speak, and mean it. Not just to raise money or get a vote, right? Affordability, Medicare for all, living wages of $20 and $30 an hour, on-the-job safety, immigrant rights, no ICE terrorists in our community. And people are watching the news lately. They knew there was another outrageous killing of an innocent civilian in Houston,
Right.
burning a living for his family and a productive person that had been here probably 30 years. So those are the issues.
That man was applying for American citizenship.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you have candidates like some of the ones you mentioned, Rich, talking about the issues, the working class, and meaning it, the working class will respond. And the working class, let's face it, with whatever weaknesses he may have, the working class responded to the issues that Senator Bernie Sanders was raising in 2016 and 2020. That's what they were responding to, not the individual, not necessarily the way he talked, not the way he looked, and not how old or young he was, what he was saying.
What they like to say.
What he stood
Right.
for.
It's the working class, it's the oligarchs versus the working class, and the working class deserves so much better than we have, and we can unite and have a path to get
That's
it.
right. We're the majority.
Right. So I think it's a good sign that some of these young, up-and-coming candidates are winning. And it ties into what I said to the council in my comments. We should still work to elect good, pro-worker fighters. And not just fighters against the boss, but fighters against the fascists. And people are responding to that.
Right.
I got to raise one other thing about fascism, though.
Go ahead.
People may not know, and I raised this over and over while I was still president with our members. When Hitler took power in 1933, and that's the most notorious, brutal fascist regime. It wasn't the only fascist regime, but it was the leading and the most brutal fascist regime. About 2 months after he took power, they had a May Day celebration. May Day is the holiday of the international working class under the Nazi Party banners. And within a day or two after that celebration, Hitler and the National and their party, the Nazi Party, banned unions, arrested people like us, put us into work camps, concentration camps, death camps, seized the buildings, seized the funds. That's how the fascists feel about unions. And we're talking about how important unions are to working people. Yes, they need to be strong. They need to be in the hands of the workers. It needs to be bottom-up unionism, not top-down. But unions are vital to the well-being of the working class. And the fascists are bitter enemies of workers uniting together of all nationalities, all ages, all political beliefs, etc., for a better life. So when we talk about the danger of fascism destroying us and dividing us, we have historical, deep historical history on that. And history gets old, and maybe people don't know what happened in Nazi Germany. And that's why I'm sharing it, and shared it with our members over and over.
Yeah, Mark, I'd like you to address the issue about voter suppression, because as you understand,
Right.
and we do, white supremacy is a powerful ideology that dominates this country under the Trump drive to fascism, and voter suppression, particularly of Afro-American voters and Afro-American elected leaders with the redistricting, the gerrymandering efforts. They're trying to bury at least half of the current elected leadership in the Deep South, especially.
Somebody say, "Give me liberty or give me death."
Yeah, that was. Yeah, we need to recognize that. But could you comment
Yeah,
on that?
I'm glad you raised it. It's a huge issue for working people right now. It's not new. Voter suppression is not new.
Right.
We say, some of us say it's American as apple pie. Here we are in the 250th recognition and anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And after the country was founded, after the victorious Revolutionary War, about 6% of the population was allowed to vote. Guess who they were? White, male, wealthy. Women didn't get the right to vote until 1920, 144 years after the Declaration of Independence. White supremacist terror, violence, all the poll taxes, literacy tests, the African American people were essentially denied the vote all the way till about 60 years ago. But they don't want the elite, the oligarchs, the billionaires don't want working people to have a voice, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in the society.
Because they want issues that help them.
That's right. And they fear the people.
That's right.
And
the people don't
they should.
And they should. So what's happening now, people should be very aware of about some of the new dangers. So right now you have the President of the United States, Donald Trump, advocating in his primary legislative goal something called the Save America Act. You know, what's that? It sounds always save something, okay? So they're not about saving anything. It's about turning back the clock. And what I left out already is how hard voting rights were fought and won. Bloody fights to get to where we are now. These oligarchs and these billionaires want to turn back the clock. And part of so the Save America Act is a key tool of turning back the clock. There have been other things, some of these Supreme Court rulings, undermining of the Voting Rights Act in 1965 that took out most of the barriers that kept African American people from the ballot box. So it's not just the Save America Act, but the Save America Act would disenfranchise millions of people from voting behind what they say is an innocent call that non-citizens cannot vote. Well, non-citizens not only cannot vote already, they don't vote. Okay,
it's a non-existent.
It's a
problem.
Fantasy. It's a fascist fantasy, and they're using that to say we got to have the Save America vote. Now Trump sometimes is honest about what he's really trying to do. When he went into Venezuela, in a sovereign country, and invaded, he said, we're going to take their oil.
He did.
And he meant it. But at least he said it so we can understand, the people can understand. Save America Act, he says, if we pass that, we, meaning the MAGA Republican movement, will be in power for 100 years. Meaning by depriving people of the right to vote. Think about the woman question on the Save America Act. If you have to prove citizenship, and you don't have a passport, and half the people in the country don't have a passport, you have to have the name that you have now has to match your birth certificate. How many married women's name does not match their birth certificate? Or how many people do not have something readily available like a birth certificate. How many weeks and days or months or whatever you're going to spend trying to get it so you can vote. So it's disenfranchising people. So it's extremely dangerous. And then add to that Trump's absolute insistence, for a reason from his point of view, to keep people from voting, the attacks on election mail. We're all postal workers. We're proud postal workers, even those of us who are retired. And part of the pride is what we mean for the people of the country and serving the people of the country and the small d democratic role we play. Vote by mail. 65 million people voted by mail during the pandemic in 2020. 48 million people voted by mail in the last election, including the President of the United States. And
Trump.
Yes.
Including Trump. But somehow that's used as the big lie told over and over again until people believe it, that the 2020 election was stolen. Vote by mail works. It's fraudulent-free. It's on time. It gives people access to the ballot box. So these attacks are extremely important, and people need to rise up and make sure that we don't go back
Mark,
to the 6% of 1789.
We're about out of time. I want to raise one thing, that since you are no longer president of the APWU, you were asked to, and you accepted to become the president of the Eugene Debs Foundation, which is at his original house in Indiana. And Eugene Debs, when Mamdani thanked the voters of New York, he opened with a quote from Eugene Debs. Now, you as the president of the Eugene Debs Foundation, and my other good brother, OW, I have this quote, which you'll be surprised at hearing me quote from Eugene Debs. Jesus taught that the earth and the air and the sea and sky and all the beauty and fullness thereof were for all the children of men, that they should all equally enjoy the riches of nature and dwell together in peace, bear one another's burdens, and love one another. That is what socialism teaches, and why the rich thieves who have laid hold of the earth and its bounties would crucify the socialists as those other robbers of the poor crucified Jesus 2,000 years ago. That's from a campaign leaflet of 1912 from the great Eugene Debs, 5-time candidate on the Socialist Party for President of the United States. And with that, my brother, we're going to have to close our show, because we need to remember with all of us, in our unity lies our strength.